Okay, so we're going to jump into sharing what's going on with the altitude group. So can everybody see on your screen? Can everyone operate Zoom happily so that you can see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? Anyone can't just say? Okay, wonderful. Give me a thumbs up. That's great. Thanks, Noel. So I'm just going to talk you through the course and then I'll come off the share and open it up to any Q&A. So the altitude course, let me just tell you a little bit very briefly about what to expect. So altitude is 51 sessions and we do it for the year. We travel as a group. So we want to create trust, psychological safety within this group. And it's going to equip you to lead yourself and to lead your people really well. So Claire and I were just saying we're really excited to be launching another altitude group together because we know that when we're engaging in altitude, learning a tool every week, we are getting sharp. We just know that it helps us become the healthiest human beings we can, and we become accountable to one another as a community. We'll be going on that journey with you as well. So it's really exciting actually as a way to get fit in our leadership. So we apply it to ourselves and then we get to apply it to our teams as well, which is really exciting. So what else? Well, first of all, there is a weekly independent 30-minute video training via the online platform aspect to it. So you'll be expected to do your homework. I used to be a teacher, so I always set homework. And you can do that whenever you like. If you wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, you could do it at 3 in the morning. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but you can fit it in, maybe have a weekly rhythm. So have in mind and schedule on your calendar, this is when I'm going to do my 30 minutes and give it a few days before the deadline, just in case you have to move it. I think you'll really enjoy doing that. There's an online booklet that means that you can just make notes according to what the video is instructing you and what your next steps are going to be. And there's also a quiz at the end of it. Has anybody gone ahead and had a look at the altitude course online yet on your new Pro Access? Has anyone had a chance to do that? Probably not because you've only just registered for it. So I will show you shortly where that is on the platform so that you know where to find it. Okay, so 30-minute video training. Next, we have a fortnightly 1 hour group session, and that's with this group. And this group will generally remain the same. Abby Doyle will also join us, but she can't make it today. And that's where we're going to process the tools. So you'll do your prep in advance. And then when we jump on the call, we'll do another draft of that tool. We'll go deeper with that tool. This is your chance to ask any questions. This is your chance to let the tool actually really go deeper than it had before. And to actually be committed to memory. So we'll revise it and build on it. And also that provides accountable application. You'll say out loud as much as you can what your learning points are. When you're on the call, you will be invited to commit to a weekly 100 exercise, which is focused on helping you improve your own leadership. So you will actually come up with a next step for yourself and you'll write that one down. And you'll also come up with a weekly X challenge to help you take what you have learned and impact others immediately. So something that applies to you and then something that helps you to equip someone else. So sometimes it might be teaching the tool to somebody else immediately or thinking of an application for your team. So how does this apply to me? And then how does this apply to my team as well? You'll get used to the rhythm and it won't feel too complicated. We do a mixture of self-led with the 30 minutes, coach-led on the calls and peer-led coaching. So we'd encourage you to buddy up with somebody on this call, to meet with them outside of the official call times, maybe have a WhatsApp group between you so that you've got somebody you can just text when you perhaps are doing your 30 minutes, you don't understand something, or you're finding one of your next steps particularly hard. You can ask them to pray for you. You can say, can we have lunch together? Can we just process this? So just sending messages between each other is just nice to have that extra one-to-one session as well to look forward to. There's also a biblical theme for each session. I will introduce very briefly, probably usually a verse or a quotation from the Bible. But if you want to go deeper, that's completely up to you. You could tie your daily devotional to the altitude course, or rather one a week. And there's an optional study guide, which you can find on Amazon. And that link is in the notes that I sent to you all by email yesterday. So it's a book called Breakthrough that a colleague of mine in America has written, and it's really good, really sound. So if you can do a deep dive, that's spiritual aspect to the tool as well, if you want to. And also, for all your trouble, you will not only get healthier, you'll also get a brilliant CPD approved certificate, which you have for life. So you can have it within Bible Society if you're looking to strengthen your leadership potential there, or if you did move somewhere else, you can take it with you. So that's all to play for. So I hope that sounds exciting and interesting. I'm just going to show you the platform before we come off the screen share. So let me just get to the giant platform. So you will have seen an email from Liesel, which says you now have pro platform access. So you have the paid platform access, and this is linked with our partner Giant, where all our tools are based. And the aspect we're associated with here can be found on your library. So on your left side, you go library, you toggle down to other resources, and then it's the second one along, altitude training. Now, there's loads and loads of resources here on the platform, and you're welcome to browse them all at your leisure. If you want to extend your 30 minutes to longer, go for it. But your required reading will be your session for the week. So the one we're going to look at today is the Welcome to Altitude training. As I said in the email, there was no need to do any prep if you didn't have time. It was so quickly put together yesterday. But I will ask you to do sessions 1 and 2, if you can, for next week, because we'll be looking at the second tool next week. So just 2 tools for next week, and that's a one-off. Usually it'll be 1 tool per week. So you just click on the session, view session, and then you'll see that there are a series of videos that open up. At the top, you can see 5 tabs, 5 lines. The first one's blue and then next are 4 black ones. And that's because there's 5 pages for each. So mini videos, a place to read tools, and a place to put your notes as well. And you mark as complete each of the pages. And then when you toggle back to your altitude, you'll see that a tick has appeared to say that you have completed that session. So then that one will be ticked, and it will say 1 of 51 sessions complete. So nice to know that you can tick things off and work through the workbook yourself. Okay, there is also a workbook as well. So what you can do if you want to, I've put it into I don't think it's translated to you and your calendar, but there is a link to the altitude training workbook, which I will share with you as well. So I'm going to just stop the share there, come back into the room. Any questions or comments on the course as a whole? How does that sound? Fire away.
I've got the breakthrough. Do you do it before the session or after the session?
That's a great question, Rachel. I would definitely do it after your session online. So after your prep session, your 30 minutes, go
Yeah.
and do the tool first and then do the book. I think it says in the book actually, sort of on the second page, go and do these tools. So you could read the passage the night before or before you jump on. But at any point, really, I think during that week, but preferably after you've done the tool, otherwise it won't make as much sense without the tool. But it will help. It will be lovely because you'll not only then have that, because we do altitude courses with people who aren't necessarily Christians or reading the Bible, and that's fine. But this will give you that spiritual dimension to it because it really does track so well with the biblical truths, probably on which it's based, because the 2 guys that put it together are Christians, so they have had that biblical basis. Great question, Rachel. Any other questions on the course as a whole? How are people feeling? Does that make sense? Any aspects feel daunting, or is there anything you're looking forward to in particular?
I had a question, Lauren. It's more just related to the idea, I guess, of sort of the peer mentoring. And I was wondering if, I don't know, like we had a Microsoft Teams group where our particular group could sit, and that could be the place where you could kind of bounce things off. Do you think that's too big? Is like one-on-one buddy system better? Or I'm just thinking, yeah, maybe then there's just one Teams chat and we could kind of, because it's quite a small group.
Yes, yes.
And maybe then yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So my thoughts are that I think that's a wonderful idea if everybody wants to do it. And it might be that just 4 or 5 of the group want to do it. Some people are against more more WhatsApp groups, and it could be a WhatsApp group, it could be a Teams group. So I would reach out, Kate, to each person individually, if you don't mind, and ask them,
Yeah, sounds
would you like to be in a group? And just to say, everybody has permission not to, that you wouldn't be offended, would you, Kate, if people said,
yeah.
I'd rather
I'll
not,
put
I
us
don't
on
need
mute.
yeah, some people are just maxed out. They are
Yeah,
maxed out with comms, and other
yeah,
people want a bit more comms. And I think we should all be allowed to have our own preferences. So,
yeah,
yeah, that would be great, Kate, if you wouldn't mind being
yeah.
team captain of the group. That's
Sure.
wonderful of the group chat. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody else? I don't want to give you responsibility that you don't want. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts, things you're looking forward to? Matt, you're smiling, so I'm going to pick on you. What are you looking forward to, or does anything feel a bit daunting about how you feeling about the
I'm
course?
gonna be cheesy. So I'm looking forward to getting started. To be
Great,
fair,
love
to
it.
see what unfolds, see what
Yeah,
happens,
yeah, I like
see what
it.
path we go down.
That's it.
I'll stop
And
there.
that, I mean, that is what will happen, isn't it, Claire? You know, that they are like little gunpowder pouches, aren't they, these tools? And suddenly something really impacts you that week. Some weeks you might just go, "Do you know, yeah, that was helpful. It wasn't life-changing." Other times it's like, this is a game changer. So, Claire's going to be with you on the journey as somebody that has been through it before and can share her insights as she goes through as well. So that'll be great. Anyone else want to chip in at any point about that stuff we've done so far? Okay, great. Well, in that case, who's up for learning today? Who's up for learning a new tool? Brilliant. We're going to dive in again. We're going to dive back into the session. So let me just gear up the deck again so that we're ready for the Bible verse of the day as we lead into the session. So here we come. Okay, wonderful. The coat's coming off. It's one of those days that just gets warmer as it goes on, isn't it? Which is really nice. Okay, so here is the Bible verse for today. And it's here from Psalm 139, which is obviously one of the best Psalms. And it says this: I praise you, God, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. And I wonder if you are thinking that you are wonderful today. How does that land with you? Fearfully and wonderfully made. That sense with that word fear of awe. When God looks at you, there is an awe to it. There is a celebration to it. You are very good, it says in the Bible, and wonderfully made. You've been put together brilliantly with genius. Why do we know that full well? Because it's to God's praise, because He made us. So when you look at yourself, do you see your limitations? Do you see all the things that you can't do? Do you see your frustrations with yourself? Or do you see the things you can do? Do you see what you bring, what you offer to others? And can you say, do you know, I'm really glad I've got that skill and that gift, rather than focusing on the things we don't have? It's very hard, isn't it, not to let comparison steal our joy. So today's tool is the 70/30 tool, which is all about the things that we are good at doing. And let's celebrate those and see those and make sure that we stay energized. So we're going to dive into that tool and I will explain it to you now. So you may never have seen this before, and that's fine. You may have seen it. This tool is called 70/30 because the idea is that we want to be doing for 70% of the time the things that are our strengths. So we want to be leaning into our natural strengths. And you've all been doing some personality work through Bible Society. So you know a little bit about your voice or your colour, and you know what are the super strengths of people who tend to have that profile. So your natural strengths will usually be your first and second voice, or your first and second colour, particularly your first one. And those things we call your unconscious competence. You just do them. You don't think they're amazing, but other people look at you and think, how do they just do that? That's not natural for me, but that is natural for them. So what are those things? Now, you'll know those things because when you've done lots of those things, you won't be drained. You'll be bouncing around. you'll be energized. So Matt said he got up on the stage and he actually really enjoyed it. So that might be something you can put in your 70, Matt. Then we need to compare it and contrast it with those things that we would say are in your 30. Those are the things that are learned behavior. They weren't natural. Think back to a time when you were perhaps growing up and you were younger and the things you could just do. These aren't those things. These are things you've had to work quite hard on. Now, you might have become really good at these things. You might have become really competent at them, but it's a conscious competence. You at some point had to rewire the sort of neural endings in your brain and create new channels and pathways so that you could actually perform that action and make it look natural. But you know deep down, it's not light. You know that it's actually a bit heavy, it's a bit onerous, it's a little bit draining to perform it. So only you would probably know that. Other people might think that some of those 30% things are your natural strengths, but you know they're not. They're not the things that make your heart sing. So in trying to discern which is on which side, I want you to ask yourself those questions. Which energizes me? What fills me with joy? When do I feel like me? And those are the things that would go to the 70 or to the 30 side. Now, why do we have 70-30? Why don't we have 100-0? Well, that would look like a bit of abdication, wouldn't it? You know, if we weren't sometimes doing the things that actually drain us or we don't really love that much, we wouldn't be serving others, probably. No one would be taking the bins out, for example. No one would be cleaning the food bin, that's for sure. So the 30% is a reminder that actually we can't always please ourselves, but there needs to be a certain proportion that we just have to get on with. Also, sometimes we have to do some of the 30 to be able to do the 70. So it's a balance. It's what we found is the right balance as well. So the task is, and I'm going to come off the shares. Everybody got the idea of the 70-30. I can reiterate some of those work keywords in a second. But the task is to make a column. Now, I was doing my X challenge and my son happens to be off school today. So I asked him to do his, I'm going to just put my self view on so I can check you can see my screen because I always turn it off. Now I asked Gil, can you do a 70-30 for me? So here's how you do a 70-30. You make a column. So you can do it on your tablet or on a piece of paper. And at the top on the left, you put 70. And on the right, you put 30. And you write down all the things in the 70 column that give you joy, that make you feel energized. And then you put on the 30 side the things that don't. So that's how you do it, a list. So think about your calendar. So I'd like you to just get on and do it now while I'm chatting. I'm going to just answer any questions while you're jotting it down. So start jotting it down. Think about your calendar. Think about your schedule. What are the things that you tend to do on a regular basis? So it could be meetings, it could be writing content, it could be walking the dog, it could be stuff at home. It's a 360 of your life, not just work. So on the 70 side, Gilbert's put sport, music, drama, socializing, sleep, planning, physical activity. He's put drinking lots of water. I said, really? Is that a strength? He said, some people really hate chugging water, but I'm really good at it. So I quite like that. So working hard, he's put, and then on the 30 side, chores, Latin lessons, remembering details. So think about your personality. What's one person's trash is another person's treasure. So Gilbert doesn't like remembering details. Other people, they love the details. So think about who you are and what are some things that you'd put in either side of that column. So just start amassing your list. While you're doing that, I'm just going to take any questions about the tool.
There's too much concentration on the list.
That's good. Some people love the concentration of doing the list and some people don't. If you're nearly there, then the next thing to do is to give it a value. Now, my experience, there's two different ways of doing this. It's got to add up to 100. That's the clue. We're looking for 70-30, which is optimum. So you can either go with a gut feel. I just know, some people just know it's 50-50. Some people like to look at their lists, weigh it up because they can clearly see how much time is spent in either side, and then they'd like to give it a value. But I'd like you to come up with a specific number. Is it 50-50? Is it 40-60? Is it 100-0? I've had someone who was 90-10 once, which was really very impressive.
Sorry,
And
Laura, I wasn't paying enough
yes,
attention then. How are we scoring them with the
that's
numbers?
because you're not giving yourself enough credit. That's because you were focused on the task, Rachel. We are giving it a percentage. So that's the clue. It adds up to 100, like 70-30 does. 70-30 is optimum. So for the majority of the time, I'm doing the things that are in my strengths. And then anything below 70, you will probably feel a bit frayed at the edges. 50-50, you'll be pretty shattered, pretty tired, or maybe you're going through a house move or something. That can be short term. So think about what you'd give yourself, with 70-30 being a healthy complement of distribution.
Okay, so
Any other
overall, what would you like?
overall adds up to 100. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I gave 50-50 as an example, 40-60. Any other questions about the tool? Katie Tang, how did you find that? Well done, you two liaising.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. I'm having to get no ads on mute. Yeah, I find it helpful. I'm actually struggling to separate the things that I find 70 and 30.
Okay.
I don't know why. I find it hard. I find it easier to think of things at home than I do at work.
And they can go on the list as well, Katie. That's absolutely fine. You can, it's a 360 of your life, because we're getting a kind of measure of how energized you are at this time.
Yeah.
That's great. So maybe you might want to then separate tasks into two aspects there. So, for example, Gil's put working hard in his 70, but he's put staying focused in his 30. So separating two aspects of a task might be helpful. Any other questions or comments before we hop into a breakout? Okay, wonderful. So Claire's about to put us into breakouts, which is amazingly exciting. You're going to have a few minutes each, so 8 minutes, 4 minutes each. Share with the other person or people, what did you give yourself and why at this stage? Okay, what did you give yourself? What did you rate yourself and why? A chance for you to do a little bit of processing in 2s and maybe 1, 3. Over to you, Claire, when you're ready.
Fingers crossed.
Well done. Play. Beth, anything you'd be happy to feed back?
Yeah. I can feed back a few things.
Yes, please,
So-
if you don't mind. Go ahead when you're ready.
So we were just talking about how, well, like in work, you have more tasks that have to be done. So maybe you have less choice to be in your preference the whole time. But sometimes by challenging, you can learn as well. So you might have something you really didn't want to do, and then you do it and you feel good afterwards. So it might feel like it's not your preference, but you grow by doing it.
That is such a good point, Beth. And that's one of the reasons we have the 30%, is that we do grow. So we don't want to just do the things that we find come easily. Brilliant. If you have too much of that, though, that's when it tips. But that's a great reminder. Thank you. Was there something else, Beth? Sorry.
No, I think that's the main thing.
Brilliant
Yeah.
point. Love that. Katie, we're coming to you next, if that's okay. Anything you're happy to share?
Yep, go ahead.
Hello.
Oh,
We're all in the same room now, but we were saying hi. We were saying that we all found it challenging, sort of making that list at speed as well, I think. So you'd quite like longer to think about it, but also, like, if we were to think about it more top level, what would those things be, rather than drilling down into like the day-to-day tasks of what you do in your role. And also the fact that over time, you know, those things can change, and in any given week at work, I think you can tip from your percentage being 70-30 into something completely different. So yeah.
Absolutely. Really good. So it's a snapshot really of where you're at right now. And also just to reassure you, usually you will have done the tool ahead of the session. So your first draft will be much calmer, and you can take your time, and then you come on the call and you'll do a second draft of the tool. But today we're doing the first draft. So just see it like that, reframe it as a first draft. So even if you've just got a couple of things that you know in your 70 and one or two in your 30, you've begun that journey of just thinking about energy levels. Stuart, anything from you?
Yeah, I think I'd reiterate what Katie said. It changes over time. At the moment, I put myself 60-40. And I think that's because more things have crept into the energy draining perhaps column. Monday.com, Salesforce. Sorry, people that like that. That's become more prevalent in recent months, and hopefully it won't stay that way forever. But things shift.
And that feels draining to you. Good to get clear on it as well, because when we're clear on what drains us, then we'll know actually where to put a bit more self-care and where to actually put some intentionality, which we're going to move on to in a second. So I'll come to others in a minute, but before I do, I just want to show you sort of where we will go to next with the tool. So where we would go to next, and I'll recap this at the beginning of next week's session as well for you, is this question at the top right, which you may not have seen earlier. So what we do next, once we've got clear on our lists, is we ask ourselves, if my 30% is higher than 30, then the chances are I'm a bit frayed around the edges. I might just be really needing a break right now. I might use the weekends to just recover rather than actually recharge. So a good question to ask is this: what can I outsource, swap, or trade up? What can I outsource, swap, or trade up? So outsource, is there someone else who could do this job? So if you live with people at home, maybe they could share the burden of the things that are draining you. Maybe you could give somebody else a job if you're the person that distributes the jobs in the household. Outsource, what else? Maybe there's something I can give to someone else. I can pay someone to do something. For me at the moment, the house maintenance is getting me down. We need a garden, we need a turf to be put. Our grass died over the summer, and we need some turf being put down. Neither James nor I have really the sort of passion to do it. So I did find somebody last week who's a handyman and gardener, and I've asked them to do it. So I'm thinking I can outsource that thing to do something else. Swapping. Okay, is there somebody you could swap with? So you could think, well, I like doing admin, but that person really likes doing the more social aspects of things. And in your role, I saw this happen actually in a workshop down in Sussex. There were two people in a school. One of them hated doing the show rounds. They hated showing the parents around the school. They found it really draining. The other one hated doing all the rotas for things. But it was the opposite way round on each of their 70-30. So right before my eyes, they said, well, why don't you do a bit more of the showing around school and I'll take a bit of your admin off your plate. Oh my word, everybody's eyes went brighter. They were shaking hands. They were delighted. The next time I saw them, their 70-30 had improved because they'd swapped, not the whole job. They still had to do some of it, but they'd swapped some of the bulk out, which was each other. What's one person's trash is another person's treasure. And we forget that. We assume that what drains me will drain everybody. And that's not the case because we're different. We're fearfully and wonderfully made differently. And then the trade up one is, how can I do this same task in a way that is less draining? Is there a way I could make this more fun? And we've actually had a really nice example on the call here where three of you are thinking another Zoom call or another online call, the end of the day. Hang on, how can we make this even more energizing? I know, let's get together in the same room. So that's a lovely example of trading up. Okay, sometimes I've got this thing to do. Why don't I do it with another person? That could be great. Or I need to do this one-to-one, this meeting one-to-one. I'm not looking forward to it because there's some things we've got to work through. But what if we go for a walk while we're doing that one-to-one? What if we take it outside, do a little walk around the block, bit of exercise, bit of nature, if you can find any in Swindon. Little bits, there's some trees. But a little bit of exercise on the move, often that can just lighten the load of the task. So those are 3 key phrases for you to think about when you go back and have a redraft of this tool in preparation for your for next time we see each other. So we're going to pop back into breakout just very briefly, and I want you to take with you that question. Is there anything on your 30 side that you could swap, outsource, or trade up? So have a good look at that list. What's draining you at the moment? Can anybody think of any inventive ways to just start thinking about it to be able to do that? So back in the breakout room, Claire, if you will. And this is just a short one this time. And I'll see you back shortly. Hello, hello. Noelle, we're going to come to you first, if that's okay. Anyone in your group, or did you find anything that you could outsource or trade up or swap? Any thoughts?
So Matt and Katie were talking a little bit about their teams, and in leading their teams, how sometimes they can feel like they always need to be present, but that's actually a lot of energy, when actually they can let their teams get on with things and they don't always need to be there for them. And it's actually a way to empower their teams. And that was interesting for me. And then I talked a bit about meetings, and how we have a lot of them. So just being really conscientious of who actually needs to be in this meeting. How big does it actually need to be? And just making sure that I'm just being conscientious and careful with how many people I'm inviting to a meeting. Do we know the agenda? Do we know what needs to come out of it? That way, I think unnecessary meetings or extremely long meetings or ones that just aren't the most fruitful are sort of avoided. And maybe that's a way of sort of trading up.
Yes.
Just being a bit more conscientious in that. Yeah.
That's so good, Noelle. I love it. So just you being able to have this moment to go, I'm going to commit to being more intentional about who I invite to meetings is a brilliant trade up. I love it. It's great. Matt, anything to add?
They were kind of our collective ideas. So we speak about, as we said, the sort of the team, which Noelle spoke about.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Let's go across to Rachel.
Yeah, and so I said that I think the reason my 70-30 is so high is because we have just had movement in the team and things like that, and a lot of the things that I was finding difficult is somebody else's role now. So that wasn't so much me by design, it just kind of happened.
That's great. So you find yourself, your 70-30 has probably gone up then more recently.
Hugely, yeah. But as Stuart said, they've swapped round, and I've said it was round the other way 6 months ago, and now it's almost like 90% 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So everyone else on the call, can you hear that Rachel now has some capacity to build out her 30? No, joking. You enjoy that. That's very unusual, and enjoy that season. I'm delighted it's trended in the right direction. Kate, over to you. What have you got?
We're going to have a bit of a restructure in our team shortly. We're hiring in a new HR admin person, which will really help with some of the process following, which I do not enjoy, but other people do enjoy and love. So some of that detail, not yet, but will be able to be passed on, which I'm looking forward to. And at the moment, what I have been doing and using is AI quite a lot for certain things. So we're feeling the loss. We had a manager in our team who has retired, And so she handled a lot of stuff. She would just do like all probations or all levers, not worry like having to pick it up. So there's lots of like missing pieces that were just in her brain. And so Copilot and similar tools have been really helpful to generate templates and refine things and write Teams posts for me. So definitely, I don't know which of those it is. Trading Up, maybe.
Trading Up, yes, excellent.
And then the other thing I was saying that I love is just like a good audiobook. So when I'm doing a boring chore or something that's not fun, just like put something on to learn or to entertain myself while I'm doing commute or something that's less fun.
That's a great idea. I love it. And do use your 70/30 when you're thinking about you've got another team member about to join. Just be careful about giving that person your 70 stuff. And be really specific about it's a false kindness, because if you're more drained, you can't lead the team so well. So keep hold of the things that you enjoy doing and try to recruit somebody who has complementary 70/30, who has, for whom your 30 is their 70. Claire, over to you to bring us to land.
Yeah, so when I did this originally, I was 30/70, kind of the wrong way round. So sort of being able to see that I've been able to outsource some of the things that I didn't want to be doing, like school drop-offs, to allow me to work at this time in the afternoon, is really interesting. But also being aware that I had some bad habits that were stopping me from sort of being able to have the space to be able to then do the things that I wanted to do. To get those more sort of 70/30 the right way around.
Can you just give us a quick example of a bad habit?
I had a really bad habit of looking for short-term dopamine hits in the form of doom scrolling rather than looking for sort of longer term, more beneficial endorphins. So like going to the gym, training, being outside, doing gardening, all the things that actually kind of feed and recharge me.
Thank you.
So, and habit stacking. So what Kate said, doing things that are enjoyable at the same time as doing something not enjoyable.
Very good. So that putting those two things side by side, that's so helpful. Thank you. So I hope you feel encouraged that you've made a good start on this tool, and that's all it needed to be today is a draft. You've done some good work just there. And then I hope you're excited as well about dropping into the Pro platform to go through that exercise yourself, and potentially also do the devotion alongside if you want to as well. We will review 70/30 at the beginning of next week's session, but I'd also like you to prepare the Peace Index as well, which is session 2. So we're going to sign off there. If anyone has any questions, feel free to just hang back and ask them. Otherwise, welcome to Altitude. Absolutely delighted. When I saw this list, and I know you all, I was like, this is going to be such a brilliant group. Lovely, lovely group. And you all bring something different. I'm so glad you're all in this group. And Claire has already been saying lovely things as well. So reach out anytime, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Claire. Bye.
Bye.